they're only partially hooked up with their business.
And we're live.
Talk about it.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Please rise. We'll salute the flag. Annie McMahon, Councilman McMahon.
And pledge allegiance
Which is to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all.
Okay, folks, this is the June 4th, 2024 meeting of the Town of Luzerne Town Board. Supervisor Bernino is out of town. All right, so do the roll call when you're ready.
Councilman Moore,
Here.
Councilwoman McMahon,
here.
Councilman Hanlon,
Here.
Councilman Niles,
Here. Okay, first item on our agenda, want to remind the board that the short-term rental revision public hearing is still open. I want to remind the public that as well. Just a few minutes ago, a couple hours ago, we received from Attorney Cassane a modification based upon the public input and board discussion we had last time. And you have that in front of you. If you look at page 2, up near the top, you'll see a large chunk of a paragraph crossed out. Correct me if I'm wrong, but basically that's the change. And also further down, references to that change because it's no longer in there. So that, if I've read it correctly, that's really, we could focus on the whole document, but that's what's changed since our last discussion.
Yeah, we discussed this too already last time.
Yeah.
We all agreed. I believe that in that conversation, we kind of came to a conclusion of consensus that it was something needed.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, that's why we put it off to get it tweaked up.
Yeah, and we had to extend the public hearing out because of that. Okay.
Okay, now since then, I also received an email from Chris, our short-term rental officer, and he had another concern that he wished to express. Chris, what page, and please explain it.
I think it's page 7, Chris.
Thank you, Karen. Yes, page 7, regulates, section H regulates firework displays. And the current proposed change to the language states no fireworks or firework displays in compliance with New York state law. I've had a few short-term rental permit holders as well as applicants indicate they found that to be confusing.
Where is it, Chris?
Page 7,
H.
section 7H.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So I came up with just 4 alternative rewordings of it. The board would entertain the different sentences. I have printouts here, but I could read them to the record if you'd like.
Well, why don't you pass them out?
Okay, you got it.
yeah, thank you.
And while he's doing that, at the board's approval, I would like to change the agenda just a whisker. And if it sounds like we have come to the conclusion with this short-term rental upgrade, we'll go right to resolution on that, as opposed to doing it later in the meeting.
We might as provide the public with the changes. There's different copies.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
So the only changes made were the ones that you suggested at the last.
Right.
meeting.
But I don't have.
Do you have a couple extras, Chris?
I do have. two
Here,
extra.
I have one right here.
Okay.
I can get this.
Would anyone else like
There
one?
might have been other people who might want to read it.
Okay, Chris, would
Just
you,
one paragraph, there's a couple places where it's.
Correct, and I took care of all this.
And is it on, it's.
In the blue.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, thank you.
yeah, Ms. Powers, that was a good point that you made. Chris, why don't you explain? Well, I guess it's pretty obvious. What Chris is saying is that, page 7. H probably should say one of these things under suggested, and right above it, he's got what it says now. I kind of like the second one personally.
I like the last one.
They both say the same thing pretty much, different way of saying it. There's only, I mean, I would have been happy with just on the I would have been happy with just on the original one, putting fireworks or fireworks displays not in compliance with New York state law, just put not in there after displays and in
Yeah.
front of, and that's it.
That would accomplish it as well.
Okay, Attorney Hussein, which one would you prefer?
I feel like they all, I mean, someone's always gonna be confused, but that's fine, just sticking that in there.
What-
Yeah. Or that are not in compliance with, but you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know.
Two negatives in the same sentence.
Yeah. Well, you know,
No fireworks or
Yeah.
firework displays.
Yeah, there's that too.
I don't have, they all mean the same thing, so.
That's why that last one, the last sentence he's got on that paper, no fireworks or firework displays other than New York State compliant
Chris,
fireworks.
That works too.
Chris,
Yes, sir.
How fancy you want to
is
go?
that the one you'd prefer?
I mean, honestly, I think that's the strongest one.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you guys think?
Great.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Okay. Okay, so can we add that? I would think that that's a very minor change. It would not need a new advertisement for public hearing and so on and so forth. Is that-
More of a clarification, right?
So my suggestion would be to keep the public hearing open, provide these changes on the website tomorrow. And then people have a month to review them, and then at your next meeting, as long as there's no other changes.
And if there are, we'll just do this again. Sounds good.
My only question on that is we're getting into where we have to start doing renewals. And will that affect it at all? I don't believe any of this really affects the renewals. How do you feel on that?
I don't think it affects the renewals because we didn't change anything for the renewals. We took out some language that really wasn't pertinent anymore. And then we changed the violation notice, which if you're not doing violations right now, that doesn't have any bearing on your renewals.
Okay.
Is there any public comment?
So.
Oh, correct.
The word, like, that's okay. On page 9. It's still like established existing. A fine of $1,500 if an established short-term rental does not apply for this permit.
Take out established, so a fine of $1,500 if a short-term rental does not apply for this permit.
And operates as a short-term rental, because,
I mean, I feel like that's
I think that's what
kind of
established.
implied by the law
Okay.
here.
but is this, so this fine is just for someone who's operating but not permitted, correct?
So this establishes an additional fine on top of the 950 for the violation of this law. And then they're putting in an additional fine of just a flat 1,500 fine for not having a permit,
Okay. Okay.
is what
I guess one of my comments then would be also that, you're throwing fines that are pretty excessive for someone who's actually gone through the process and been permitted. And those are still the same as if someone was operating without a permit.
If they have a permit, they wouldn't be in violation.
No, for a first offense, for a second offense, and for $9.50 for a third offense. Those offenses could be as much as just leaving the garbage can out, and I think that's excessive. Because also my question is, when does the garbage get picked up? It varies constantly.
You always have the right to come back and appeal to the town board for relief of that too, though.
Yeah, I just think a lot of this makes it very much a judgment call for Chris. And that can be tough. Because it's pretty subjective. And it does, according to what I've had conversations with Chris, that there were no violations in all of last year. So you're creating this harsher legislation for a problem that really hasn't existed for a year. In other words, if there were no violations, why do you need to increase the rates? And if-
Your point's well taken.
Okay, and if the judge finds someone $1, that may be an indication that he feels that that is also excessive as well. You know what I'm saying? And I do feel like if a garbage can is left out, and a neighbor wants to complain about it 3 times, then that person loses the ability to rent. That seems excessive. So I think defining what an offense is might be, I don't know.
Just to clarify, there were violations.
Yeah.
Just stop. This is public comment.
Yes.
You can comment, and we do not have to answer questions, because this is gonna turn into a back and forth, and we're gonna be here all night. So we can listen to the comments, we can incorporate among us,
Right.
but if we continue to go back and forth, we're gonna
Have you
literally. be-
got any other comments?
I guess I can't ask a question. So, is,
You can ask a question, doesn't mean we're gonna.
right, I'm just saying that I feel like some of this is extra. It's unreasonable, some of it.
Your point's well taken.
The garbage part seems to be unreasonable to me. I think I said it the first time as well. This timing of when the garbage gets picked up in 24-hour period. That just seems like a lot. And I know there was seemingly a proposal for bidding on garbage pickup in town. And then garbage was something was proposed and passed last time on garbage about lids. And I do feel like that might have been putting the cart before the horse, because you're in the process of getting bids, and most of these garbage companies do want, they have the lifts and they do want cans with the lever lids. So now you've got a law that, depending on who you go with garbage pickup, might have to be revised again. So I think
We
it
do
might.
have a 3-minute limit, which I should have announced before we started, so can you wrap up your thoughts?
I can just wrap it up by just saying that again, just like last year, I just feel like some of this is excessive. And unreasonable, and puts the zoning officer in a spot where, he's trying to make a judgment call about something. And when I talked to him about the garbage thing, it was like commented that, an owner, and that's also part of it. An owner could be in that home for 8 months of the year or even more, maybe, the entire year, and that might be, a week, 10-week period where they're not there. And during that time that they're occupying, are they expected to get their garbage cans out within 24 hours as well? I guess that's something that I'm wondering about. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else here? Anybody on Zoom want to comment?
We have one Zoom attendee. If you would like to comment, please raise your hand in the Zoom app and we can unmute your microphone.
Okay. So what's the board's pleasure? Obviously, we're gonna have to.
Extend the open meeting.
Technically, it's called table. Should
No,
we
we're gonna
continue the
keep the-
public hearing?
Yes, keep the public hearing
We
open.
need to vote on that.
We need to discuss some things.
Okay, so I guess we move on to the
Yes.
next item on the agenda. Does the public have any comment on the legislation that's proposed tonight? Anybody on Zoom, Chris?
I see no response on Zoom.
Lori? Oh, I'm sorry. Resolutions are not next. Northwoods. Give us, give us a little background. Sure. But it's been a while.
Good evening. I'm Attorney Matt Fuller with Meyer, Fuller and Stockwell, out of Lake George. I'm here with Rosa Boyle from the Northwoods Association. As the board's probably aware, we've been on a little bit of a mission to get the dam replaced at Lake Forest. And about probably a year ago, we started down the path of investigating the old district that was there, whether or not it was ever formed, properly formed, or any of that. And we issued a FOIA request to the town, got a bunch of documents, forwarded documents over to your attorney, and ultimately prepared a map plan and report at the association's expense to advance a project for the district. I think we were able to confirm that the district is there. And so, normally the town might advance the cost for the map plan and report, the few $1,000s. I don't know what the entire budget was, but they're certainly not cheap. And so what we would propose is that the town now undertake the project at the district's expense. Since the district is there, the map plan and report that we provided, obviously, your attorney can review it, and if the town has an engineer, the town's engineer can review it. Again, all those charges are district expense. But the next move, if the town board is willing to undertake the project, would be, we call it a 202B hearing under the town law. Section 202B of the town law would allow the town board to hold a public hearing, and if it desired, to adopt a bond resolution to fund the actual engineering work, to complete the plan specifications. Well, I should take a step back. The bond, you could have a bond resolution, there'd be some seeker, and your attorney's more than capable and of working through that, and I can help as needed. But actually, my goal here is to put myself out of work, and hopefully hand this project over to your town attorney, again, at the district's expense. But the move would be, again, to have a public hearing. You would go through seeker, because obviously this is a project that involves the environment. And if it's the board's pleasure after the public hearing, you could adopt a bond resolution that would allow the town to borrow the money, again, at the district's expense. This isn't a town general fund. None of the things I'm talking about should be a town general fund. But the town board could adopt a resolution, could then appoint an engineer. If you don't have an engineer, you can go out for RFQ, RFP, your proposals or qualifications, or I did, like proposed in my letter, CT Mal has prepared this. They're very familiar with the project. I'm not sure what your procurement policy requires, but again, your attorney can walk you through that, possibly even retaining CT Mal if you wanted to, because obviously they're pretty in deep with this whole project. And then have them finish the plans and specs, and working with them. That's not a huge lift. There's a budget for it. And I think you guys all have a copy of the map plan and report. But there is a $105,000 budget for the final engineering, and that would get you through the bid documents, all your DEC, APA, all the permits that are going to be required. Time wise, I think if you were able to, set a public hearing either later this month or even July for August, have an engineer going, get the money borrowed to pay the engineer, pay for the legal work that needs to be done. The engineer could probably get that work done through the fall and winter, get the permitting done, and hopefully be in a position to either, bid the project in the spring or in the fall. I don't think the association probably doesn't want that drained over the summer.
Could you, I hate to interrupt.
Yeah, no,
but
absolutely.
Could you sketch it for us? What problems with the dam are right now?
Yeah, so the map planner report that CT Mal put together at Appendix A, there's a December 2020 dam safety inspection that came back. And it's really detailed. CT Mal went through it. There's pictures. You can see the embankment has some depressions in it. There are some sinkholes that are starting to develop on the toe of the dam and on the sides of the dam, which are, I hate to even harken back into it, about 20 years ago now, people might remember the Hadlock failure, obviously much, much bigger than this over in Fort Anne in Washington County, but those are indicative of underlying failures of a dam. Rose has told me about it. I wasn't, I might have been around for it, but I certainly don't remember it. There's history of that dam failing in the past, I guess 30, 40 years ago.
How old is the CT mail work?
About a couple of months.
Oh,
The 2020 dam inspection report, that's a good question, was 2020. So it is 4 years since then, but the pictures and depictions that they've got are still relevant. Those things haven't subsided.
It's mostly an earthen dam. east
Yeah,
side?
there's some cement abutments and spillways. So all of that, you know, it needs to be worked. I just lost my spot. Here it is. The Exhibit C, their estimated total opinion of cost, and this gets you out to 2025. So they did it pick up 2 years of inflation. Their estimated cost right now is 247,000. There are some soft costs in there, legal being one. Obviously, again, this number does not need to be final in terms of the bond resolution, because what, you know, your attorney's going to cost might exceed that. My fees have already been paid by the association, so I'm outside of it.
how much work is it to set up a tax?
It's already there. So you're in the, yeah,
Debate about that.
there was, we figured it
It
out.
was set up years ago.
Yeah, I got to the clerk's office and.
Supervisor Bennett was under Supervisor Bennett, I believe.
Yeah, so we do have some legal things to figure out. Back when this was originally done in the 90s, there were differing interpretations of New York law as to what you were required to own as a municipality. So consequently, from our standpoint, that deed is very broad. It is almost the entirety of the association's property. That's got implications for the town and the association. What I would propose is, if the town board is willing to consider this going forward, we have plenty of time for your attorney and I to work out. Number one, the original deed is still in the town's file. We have to figure out how to get that recorded, but I'm also going to propose, the association is going to propose that we modify that deed to give the town basically just the rights it needs to the dam property
So the
for the
association would
district.
retain ownership.
Exactly. Yeah, because right now,
That's a big concern the previous board had.
yeah, there's kind of a tax question, to be honest with you. It's the entirety of that property being in a town deed is poses interesting questions. We don't want to deal with those questions. I think work with Mary and we can resolve this so that ultimately she can walk you through it, but the town's attorney has to sign an opinion. And that opinion will say that the town has all the rights that it needs for the district, not a town general charge, but for the district to undertake this work. I don't believe you need the rights to the entire property for the association to undertake the work. We wouldn't do it nowadays. And I'm not going to speak for your attorney, but projects that I do for municipalities that I represent, we wouldn't do that. There's just no liability reason that the town would want to own or have rights to that entire property, to be honest with you. But again, that's just my opinion. Mary may disagree, but I'm pretty confident we can work those details out. And we can get a proper deed finally recorded so we don't lose things. And as part of that, we will also put this thing in a format that all of this can be recorded in the Warren County Clerk's office. We'll do that. The engineer's already prepared that PDF in a format that we can, if you go through this process, actually record this. So you don't have to worry about, obviously we're much better at record keeping than we were 30, 40 years ago, but just good to have it recorded for all time.
That whole process of ironing out the deed and so on and so forth, all that expense would be covered by
The district.
the district in its bond, whatever you call
Yeah, so you're right now at about 247,000, and again, Mary can walk you guys through this when if you do want to undertake this. But my thought is we don't generally adopt a bond resolution for the exact costs because you don't know what's going to happen. These are the engineers' estimates, but until we actually have bids in our hand, we don't know what it's going to cost. So
Right.
you might bump this to 250, 275, or even 300,000. The town can pass a bond resolution, please don't let me step on your attorney's toes here, but you can adopt a bond resolution for any amount. That doesn't mean you have to borrow that amount. But what you don't really want to do is do it twice, right?
So let me just jump in, and I don't mean to oversimplify this, but I think the decision is, do you want to, as a town, bond the money to help rehabilitate this dam? Or do you not? And we can work out the legal whatever we need to do in between to get it done, if you want to do it. And like Matt was saying, all of our costs, our engineers' costs, everything like that would be charged to the district and would be a special tax for however many years it takes them to pay it off.
For the complete restoration of the dam to
Yep.
that district.
Yeah,
I
it'll go
would-
right on their tax bill.
I would
Yep.
assume taxpayers in the district. And I assume it comes to a vote.
So you'll have a public hearing.
Yep, it can. Mary can.
Yeah.
We're both nodding our heads. It can. If a permissive referendum is triggered, it can. But
Okay. So it
the
doesn't
good,
necessarily come.
exactly. And the good news is,
For a permissive referendum, there's a percentage, right?
I forget the percentage, but it is a percentage of.
yeah, it's either
the
25 or 50%.
voters.
Yeah. Is the reason I'm waffling is because certain districts are different. I should know this sitting here, but I don't have that answer.
You guys familiar with that?
Yeah.
Boy, I don't think my numbers, but if X number of people in that tax district demand vote, then it has to go. If they don't, it doesn't.
Yes.
We may not even get to that. It
Yeah,
all depends on
What you want.
what we decide and how we move.
this is just me talking. My concern would be if the costs are all covered by the district, as far as I'm concerned, that district should decide what they want to do. And if they decide they want to go ahead with this, I would think the town should support it. That's just my opinion. The big bugger that we had 6, 8 months when we first started this was the old board did not. We were under the impression that the town had to own it. To borrow the money. The whole board didn't want anything to do with owning that dam. That's still a concern of mine. It sounds like that hurdle is being addressed. So-
Yeah, and even the insurance, I think what going through and finding all these documents uncovered a lot of snakes that haven't bitten us yet. For good or bad, there is a deed. The town does have it. So if something did happen, I think we can all be frank, it would raise a question. If there was an injury downstream, a washed out property or something, who's liable? So the town did a project, clearly build those people in the district, took some ownership and control. I think it's good that we clear this stuff up now. And then, in terms of insurance and things like that, that should all be billed back annually to the district. A special district like this, really, one of the benefits is it allows a group of private property owners to fund something that they really couldn't fund on their own, right? There's not a bank around here that would lend to the association to fix a dam.
Because they enjoy that lake by themselves.
Exactly.
Exclusivity, so it should pass on to them.
And the bank, a bank, what the district gets the benefit is the town's full faith and credit. So with any district, a water district, a sewer district, if that district fails, that becomes a town general charge. That is the risk. But here, I would offer you, it's not a ton of money. It's not like a 10 property district. You have plenty of properties over a useful life of this of 20 years, 25 years. These costs are going to be de minimis. And you have the association with association dues that went out and paid for the engineering map plan and report. So I agree with you completely. It's easier for the town board. And obviously I'm advocating for my client, but I kind of say the same when I'm sitting on that side too. It's easy for a town board when your taxpayers are asking you to do something, right?
Exactly.
In terms of permissive referendum and things like that, The association, which is all the people that are in the district, are in support of this because they paid for the map plan and report.
Yeah, I think the only grief you'd get from the common man or woman on the street would be, why am I paying for that? I
Exactly.
can't swim there.
And you're not. The town general.
Exactly. So to answer that question, that's the only concern I had.
Yeah.
Because
In ballpark, how much are you thinking it's going to be on the residents?
My guess is if they're estimating the engineer is 247,000 now, and they gave it till 2025 of inflation, they've added 3.5% to that.
Mhm.
That's probably a pretty solid number.
Yeah.
But my recommendation would be you probably do the bond resolution for 300 grand. That gives you another 50. You got legal fees or whatever else might come up. And that doesn't mean you're borrowing that money. If you got engineering fees, if it's 105 grand, if your legal actually ends up being 50, that's 120 that you've spent that district is paying back. If they've got construction estimate of 126 grand, if that comes back at 110, you just don't borrow the extra money. Or
I'm sorry.
if it comes up at 140, you got the other extra money under the bond resolution.
So when were these numbers?
These
numbers
are
were
just
done?
last,
What year was this?
this is May 10th
Of this year?
this year.
Okay.
Yeah, so that estimate is completely current.
Okay,
Good.
for each resident in that district, how much are you estimating that it's gonna be?
$99 a year.
What is it?
99 something, $99.
Did I? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we should have. it in here.
Wow.
Hold
Will
on.
be added to each of their tax bills.
Yes.
Each.
Okay,
I saw it.
here it is. For a 10-year bond, it goes by the period of probable usefulness under the local finance law. It is, no, they didn't
That's okay.
number this, Mary. It's the very end of the beginning here before figure 1.
Okay,
So it's probably 5 pages in.
got it.
They assumed a 10-year, they did a 10-year and 20-year bond at 4.5% interest. That might be a little low. It might be 5 or so. That 10-year bond, it's $163.40 a parcel. And a 20-year bond is $99.77. So, and that just depends on the bank and what they're willing to lend. And that's where I think, honestly, when I looked at the engineer's estimate, and I did discuss it with her before they put it in here, but one of the things I forgot that would probably drive that cost up a little bit is when you go out past 5 or 10 years, you're probably going to need to do a public offering. And again, bond counsel, Bob and Mary, the firm, can help you through that. That costs money. That's 5 or 10 grand, because when you go out 15, 20 years, they actually sell those bonds. These are tax exempt bonds. So from an income standpoint, they're worth something because that interest is tax exempt.
In your opinion, is it better to go 10 or 20?
I think it's up to the taxpayers. From my standpoint, I don't have a personal opinion. I think my hope would be that this process also maybe gets a little committee together with the association to plan out for the long term as well, right? Things like this get to this point due to lack of maintenance. I think it got done
Exactly.
and everybody said, great, because if you look at the documents that we were able to find, there was a lot of history. This took years to get done. I think everybody got tired and said, well, okay, it's done. We're not going to do anything now. But going forward, the district pays off its debt. You start building up a little capital reserve so that the trees can get mowed on the dam, because that's usually a big thing that undermines dams, small dams like this. You start building up a little reserve so that the next time work needs to be done, we've got money. So 10 or 20, it's really maybe the public hearing, somebody weighs in, or you can email it out to the association.
The quicker it's paid off, the better. Then maybe have
the culvert that allows us to draw down, and the life expectancy of that pipe is about 30 years. So
is there any noticeable more flow? Because every earth and dam leaks. I worked up at Conkleville. Yeah.
Oh,
I did
yeah.
that when I retired from the state. I got a good education on it. So and trees were a big thing.
Yep.
You do not want trees on it.
No, they will
No,
undermine
no,
the
no.
dam quickly.
Any concrete, anything, you don't want it. So is there any noticeable leakage?
I don't,
Seepage? Is there any
Not there.
monitoring of it? Anybody go down there and looking at it and checking it out? Okay, good. You should. But try to go down every week and take an eye on it.
no serious damage, really. The big thing is that the spillway itself can use some, you know,
From the
It's
toe
under-
looking up,
leveling things off.
and so from the toe, road, the toe, looking at the dam, the left hand, the drainage, the culvert right there, as you're talking about, that would be like the main, that's the biggest one.
It's completely collapsed.
Yeah, there's some pretty good pictures.
We can't draw it down, whether it's an emergency or because we.
Okay.
Do, you know,
All right, all
vegetation control, there's just no doing.
Yep.
And now that whole district is in that homeowners association?
It's pretty much coterminous, right? All the parcels are in the association.
All the parcels,
Yeah.
and it was just set up years ago. Back in the
And-
thirties.
And we didn't touch the boundary.
Okay.
Some of them.
Are they aware of this problem? Everyone's aware of it, and they're aware that,
That we're doing this.
okay, and then,
Maybe one or two that, you know, haven't been to a meeting and really don't know, but.
Everybody's pretty positive about it. They're pretty positive about going through with this. Everybody's very positive. It's, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the things I was thinking too is if we do get to advancing a public hearing, you could put an email blast out to the association, try to get emails of support to
Yeah,
get
it'd
you.
be good, yeah.
So you got it for
Right.
the record.
and then
Well,
are
well,
they looking
Chris-
for the 10-year or the 20-year?
We've been discussing 10 years.
Ah.
Finally, we could discuss that, but we have always thought in terms of a 10-year.
Was that your,
I just have a quick question. I'm sorry, I can't jump in.
your whole association knows those numbers?
Yeah, this was given to,
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay,
So they're well informed.
Do you pass resolutions at your board meetings? Cause that might
We
take
could
care
get
of some
that.
of these fears that
we could get a resolution.
your association knows.
Would I
about.
get a resolution of support from the members?
Yeah, and then
Sure.
the board could have that and.
Yeah.
maybe
And
they
what
can-
would I have people sign it, everybody sign, or?
I'll work with you. I'll get you something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
we can
have-
handle that.
Yeah, because I'm not in that district, but if I really wouldn't want to be forced into something that I wouldn't have a say in. I would want to at least know what's going on, you know? Okay.
So,
Any more discussion from us?
I'm all set. I think everything's-
No, I just want to,
so the next, if you want,
Yeah, so the next step would be the bond resolution, which we would draft up for you, and I mean, there's steps that go into.
202B
it
hearing
to
and, yeah.
discuss. But we need to know your preference before we even start moving forward. If you're interested, we can start getting it together and then.
Yes.
Go from there.
Yes,
I suggest, yes, I'm interested.
I would want the full board to vote on it.
Okay, well, they have to.
Yeah.
yes, Yeah,
I think Dane,
No, I mean, not just a quorum,
got it.
yeah.
Okay.
Dane's
But-
got,
but
Dane's got a
this one, I
copy.
think It's okay for us to express our opinion. I think we should move forward.
yeah, I'm pro building a dam. The only thing that I'd like from the association is, in writing, I guess, preference of which type of bond, the 10 or the 20, so we have something more definitive as far as that goes. And then, some sort of letter of support with, members signing that, or, you know, something of that nature.
we will handle that.
I don't question that you have the support, but I don't want to dish out $250,000 with one person from the
We
association.
don't expect unanimous vote. I mean, that would.
You're never gonna get unanimous.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
always
just-
We understand what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I know what you're looking for.
Could we put it to a vote at the appropriate time if we wanted?
We'll have to, yeah.
No, I mean, the residents of the district. Could we
You
put,
can always do a mandatory
Have-
referendum. Yes, you can always put it to a vote.
I would ask that
We
you not
don't
do that.
suggest that, but you can.
That's not in the budget.
Yeah.
That's probably not to head it off. I can understand the request, but it's a probably minimum of $5,000 to $10,000 undertaking.
oh, really?
Yeah, because your attorney ends up picking up the weight. Board of Elections in the clerk's office will handle a lot of it, but I've done it. I mean, once you do a couple, you know, the legal work is pretty intense.
That would make me want to reiterate what Councilman Morton just.
Yeah,
said.
we'll see what we can get you. And you make the decision at that time. How's that?
And we
Open
can
the
also
public
see
hearing.
what comes up at public
Yep.
hearings. I mean,
Yes.
There's no one against it. I mean,
But you have to move forward with it, on your end of it?
I
Talk to,
think it's
you know,
more our end at this.
our end of it this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you
Our
need,
work as well.
you want anything, you ask.
Start
I'll,
your clock.
Oh, I will.
One question, is it possible to have a 15-year payback?
Yeah, anyway, the 10 and 20 were just estimate or like, what she chose. It could be 5, it could be 5, 10, 15. It just can't go beyond the period of probable usefulness.
Right.
And a local
Right.
finance law can always be
Kind
left.
of, the interest rate might be changing from one to the other and
Hit the nail square. That's exactly the case.
it's the banker in me, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's risk, right? It's
Yeah.
the risk of the loan. But again, the good news is it's the full faith and credit of the town that drives that risk down to nothing.
Makes it happen.
We appreciate it. Thanks for being open to it, because I know it was a little contentious last year, but we, it was amazing going through that file. I was here in a couple hours, and when it came across that deed, I said, you've got to be kidding me. There's an original deed in this file.
Yeah, so we'll have to figure that.
Yeah, and that's doesn't need to be done. No, really, it doesn't even need to be for the 202B. We got time to figure it out. And I'm quite confident. Well, that's the easy lift. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Putting myself out of work.
Thank you.
We'll see about that.
I'm interested to see the environmental implications of the new design.
It's gonna be.
I'm good.
Yeah.
They like me.
The good news, you think it's a heavy lift, but DEC wants these fixed.
Yeah.
Right, so it's a balance for them too.
Mhm.
Why don't you do what you gotta do?
Okay,
Resolutions?
Yes, resolutions.
yes. Lori,
Okay, resolution to pay the bills of the tenth abstract of 2024 as presented. General fund vouchers 3393 to 3418, $20,561.47. Highway fund vouchers 3419 to 3439 for $42,783.06. SW1 vouchers 3440 to 3441, $204.69, and SW2 voucher 3441 for $30.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none carried. Resolution to accept minutes of March 19th and 26th.
I understand everybody's had a chance to read them. I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none carried. Resolution to accept the 2024 to 2025 SW2 billing in the amount of $79,275.
I'll make that motion, but I would like just a little discussion.
I'll second it.
Can you explain that to me a little bit, Lori?
It's,
That's the amount of taxes being built, right?
no, it's the amount of water bills being billed. Yep. So we have 113 hookups, don't quote me on that. At $700 each.
Anybody else, any discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none carried. The next one is a possible resolution that the water superintendent was looking for to set new water service tap hookup fees for SW1 and SW2 districts at $1,700.
I'd like to hold off on this, and I would
Okay.
like to investigate a little more on this before we change anything.
Okay,
So, would you like to table that or yes? Okay.
right.
Chris.
I apologize.
Take care of that little thing right there. Teach it to fly. All
We're working on an upgrade of the hardware right
right, thanks.
now.
So, yeah, the next one was to adopt the local law number 2 as it pertains to short-term rental, which we are not doing at this time.
Still,
So now we're into discussion.
Okay, we got some items on here that we wanted to remind ourselves to talk about. First of all, did you guys see the email that was sent to us?
yes.
Um,
It was just basically a report on the maintenance of for tree propagation and monitoring of the woods. Okay,
um, what the gentleman was proposing, who's done it for us, as I understand it, for years.
Yes.
He's proposing that we do another cut, which will yield us, I think he said between 80 and 90,000.
What's he cutting it? Was he cutting it for? Chip? Just gonna chip it all up? Or does he want good growth? Because it takes like 30 years.
Yeah,
You know, I'm thinking he wants to chip it.
I don't know, he's our forester, he's been managing our forest for,
yeah, he would put it
God,
out.
since way before I.
What do you say, 15 years hasn't the last time it's been cut?
Can't
I
remember.
No,
believe
they
it.
do little sections here and there,
Okay.
yeah,
Do you know, Ron?
it's not always done at once.
And when I talked to Gene, it was a selective cut that they
Yeah.
wanted to do this next time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they did one not too long, 2017 was the last one.
Okay, so it's been a little while, and that's the last cut, not, okay, so it's, yeah, okay,
But yeah, there's multiple parcels, so the 2017 one might not be the one that we're discussing
all
for.
right.
Right, he does different
Yeah.
areas
But I,
to manage it.
makes sense to, I'll say harvest, whatever he recommends. It makes sense for two reasons. One is the money. But the other reason is to propagate the forest best.
Yes,
He did mention in his email that we could wait longer and make more money, but the incremental increase is not proportionate to the wait. So I
is there a need to go in there and cut again, or, I mean,
that's,
what brings us up? I mean,
it was his recommendation, the forester's recommendation. And like I said, the way I read, and I'm no forester, okay, was that it would make sense to do it. So that the new growth or whatever you call it will start happening.
yeah, yeah,
I think at this point, what Gene kind of wants to know is how do we feel about it? I don't think he's looking for a resolution tonight,
no,
nor do we see any need to rush into. So I'll move on to the next item. There isn't any more discussion.
okay. It's on the radar, though, at least it's puts it on this, you know what I mean? It's on our,
It's on our to-do list.
well, yeah, we'll revisit that when we get more. Maybe we'll have them come in and talk to us.
Yeah, that's probably, yeah.
Hmm.
Do you
Okay,
want me to see
Verge
if he
con-
can come to the agenda meeting?
Yeah, that'd be great,
Yeah.
actually.
Attorney Kassane, can you tell us a little bit about the status of the LaBerge contract? LaBerge is the engineering company.
Mhm.
Does everybody remember who it is?
Yes, we just talk about it every meeting. Every meeting we talk about. it. Very familiar. What about our other, LaBerge, what about the other people we've been using? Why have they not been brought into the?
Who, Cedarwood?
Yeah, why we have, what's going on with them? Why we,
You already have a contract with them. We use them in the land use area. I'm super happy with them. I think Aaron is too.
I don't know, I just don't, I'm just a little curious of why it's always LaBerge, and we already have, I'm just asking a question,
From
that's all.
my perspective, I was encouraging that we have another one available to us if we need them.
Didn't we already take care of that, though?
No,
We
so
have,
let me.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then maybe.
Go ahead.
So LaBerge gave you guys a professional services contract. So
That's right, yeah.
A use, so if you.
and you weren't happy with it, you didn't really like it that time,
Yeah,
okay,
so I asked them to change some of the language. You're not in contract with them now. You would only pay them based on the use of them. It's not like you're
okay,
paid, just when you use them, you pay
There
them.
you go.
answers my question.
There was some language in here, so the first thing that we had an issue with was they said all suits had to be brought in Albany County. We generally recommend that they be brought in Warren County, just because this is where the town sits. You're a municipality, we don't want you spending extra money on sending people down to Albany. They agreed to that change. As part of that paragraph, though, they have reduced, so statute of limitations, I don't mean to talk to you guys if you don't know what they are, but sometimes you don't.
Explain.
So a statute of limitations is how long you have to bring a lawsuit.
It's like 7 years or whatever.
So for breaches of contract, it's generally 6 years. For negligence, it's generally 3, med mal's like 1.5 years, they shorten that one. They're asking you to agree to a shorter statute of limitations. So although you could generally challenge a contract for 6 years after its execution date, they want to limit you to 1 year after. You could generally sue them for negligence for 3 years. Again, they want to limit the town to the year.
What's their interest in that? What was your opinion? Why would you wanna,
It reduces their liability. because
and
a
the other
lot of-
people, so we're gonna have to work out something with the other firm too. There
Maybe.
you go.
I don't know. I don't know if they would ask the same
That
thing.
struck me as being really short term.
It is they wanted 6 months. They've agreed to increase it to a year.
Do other towns sign on for that?
We never recommend giving up your statute of limitations.
Uh-huh.
rights. You can contract that away. Courts have held that if you sign this contract, you are stuck with that statute of limitations. We never suggest that, but they're saying they won't change it more than a year.
Well, there you go.
I mean, if they got the contract to design the Northwoods Dam and it washes out 4 years from now,
They're off the hook,
we're SOL, right?
Against them, correct?
which would make me wanna pick our other existing firm every stinking time. So they're out of luck. It's pointless to even bring them on board.
It's completely up to you guys. You can also bring them on board and only use them if you absolutely feel like you
It's
have. to.
statute of limitations, which I
Completely
don't like.
your choice.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
we're shooting ourselves in the foot with that one.
They have also, they have a limitation of liability language, so if something were to happen, town brought a lawsuit. Initially, they limited their liability at $10,000 or 50% of the engineer's total fee for services. So if you get $1 million verdict against them, they would be only on the hook for 500,000, 50% of whatever you would get. They have agreed to raise the 10,000 to 100,000. But I think it's always probably gonna be the 50% that you're gonna be stuck at. I mean, I don't see many damages being limited to 100,000. And they will not change that language either.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
I think we should move on.
Yeah, I'm thinking that same thing. Nice doing business with them.
Yeah.
Not,
Well, they're
not.
great. Municipal infrastructure, which was good, but I mean, that's a system that should last 15 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I
it's just-
don't like it either.
Yeah, they're not really wanting to work with us. I mean, they're not really, I think they're trying to drive the boat.
Yeah, so I guess.
That's not like an industry standard or anything by any means, correct? You guys deal with these people more than we do.
I can look at Cedarwood's contract and let you know if they have the same provisions in there. I was not counsel and
I'd like to know that information.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Lori, for the minutes. Let's kind of say something sort of specific. That I think it's unanimous that the board is not happy. With those. Limitations.
Okay.
So we say something stronger than that. I just want something in the minutes.
That's
so-
pretty much a deal killer for me.
I think
Yeah.
you could say you wouldn't approve of the contract with those.
Nope.
Stipulations, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I would say provided that it's not an industry standard, if they're all that way, we still need to contract with somebody. So, I'm gonna withhold until I know that.
And we already have somebody.
Yeah,
We
But if
already
the-
have, some-
They have the same.
my point is,
Which
if
I doubt they
if
do.
they're exactly the same,
there's
Do
no
we have
way.
something in place
They
with
have
our
the same.
cadence, right?
That's what we
That's what we want to find out.
Yeah, we'll find, yeah,
Agreement like
exactly.
this?
No, I think we're just using them for water, right? Yeah, they're just handling the water and the service line stuff.
Yeah, they're doing work for us
Are they an engineer?
now.
Yeah, they will work first now.
But it's only on that project, I believe. So
Yeah,
we need to pull out Arcadis.
Yeah, let's-
Contracts.
do what we got on them.
Arcadis are geologists though, right?
Oh, they do a lot of municipal infrastructure too. He's working on stuff for our water system right now. Okay. Town being exempt from town ordinance.
This
This,
discussion
go ahead.
is gonna be a big discussion, and I'm feeling like this should be an executive session discussion for, we'll have to think of the specifics, but I just think this is not a discussion that, I think we, as the attorney and client, should have this discussion before we put that discussion out.
Okay. The concerts are going to be starting. Just so you know.
Is our upcoming concert series.
I can tell you that there's an exception for the exercise of government functions.
So we'll put that off.
Yeah.
Letter to businesses regarding dumpsters. I don't know, everybody.
Yes, I read it.
Did you see it?
Yes, I did. I thought it sounded great. It was,
Yeah.
I thought it sounded okay.
One suggestion. Saying that was we might want to add time limit to how
Yes.
long
that's
we're
true.
gonna
Yes, I remember that. Yep.
let them slide. I agree with that.
Mhm.
60 days. 30 days.
I would say 90. I mean, because it might take time for them to get. I don't know. You gotta give them plenty of time. I have no problem. If we've been doing it this long, I have no problem giving them 90 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just to be
Some-
fair.
maybe.
Yeah. After this season, so they could, after this busy
Yeah.
season ends, then it gives them time to bid out, find someone to take care of who matches their business and their garbage output. And again, it's just being respectful for the,
I
I
think
want to back them to a corner.
looks like Labor Day, September 2nd.
I'm good with that.
What do you guys
Yeah, I think that's fair.
say?
Yeah, after
September
next season.
Week after Labor Day.
Give them after Labor Day. A week. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Week after
September
sounds
9th.
good.
Yeah,
And are you going to require them to give you something saying they have it or no? Just, we
Nope.
just stop picking them up.
Just stop. Yeah, this
Yeah.
stop pickup form.
Okay.
what do we need to make that official, if anything? Nothing? I like that.
What's the status of the RFP on the garbage?
So it's been a heavy lift. It's a lot more complicated than I was expecting. The example one was 80 pages. So I've gone through it. I've drafted one specific to Lake Luzerne. I'm going through it again to make sure that I have all the information correct, that I've included all the correct local laws, because I know Warren County has a solid waste local law. So I want to make sure we have all of that information in there, and I don't want to put something out there that isn't completely correct. So I do have a draft. I am currently going through it again. There is a specific law for garbage pickup. For RFPs for garbage pickup. So once we have a draft, we have to allow 60 days for comments before you can put out a final copy of it. Then you can put out a final copy of it and people can submit their bids. So I'm just trying to get a handle on the entire process and the law and make sure I give you something that is good, great, perfect.
Okay. No, that day.
Yeah.
Guess we can move on to ports.
Possible contract.
Okay.
Or we can make it off.
Yeah. That's gonna come up.
Oh,
Those two guys are gonna
sorry.
bring that up,
Okay.
right?
No.
No, okay. Possible contract with Lake Association. As you guys know, I work a lot with the Lake Association. Conferences and all this. And an idea that Gene and I had, believe he talked to you about it as well. Was one way to compensate for some of the expenses the Lake Association has, would be to actually have a contract with them.
It was mentioned last time.
Right. And I don't know a number yet. But I know they're working on a list of things, that they do and that they would love to get, reimbursed for.
Specific to our lake. And that doesn't include
Yeah,
going around and going around to, I mean, you know what I mean, right? And get it, if it's not directly related to our lake or work on our lake. I'm uncomfortable with covering anything, going to conferences and all that and nothing to do with our lake. You know what I mean?
The proposal, which I think we would see from them in a couple of weeks or so, would have specific items listed.
Okay.
That we could debate. We have a problem with this, we don't have a problem with that. Not quite sure what Mike and Kurt talked about, but we were out on the lake today, and yesterday, doing sampling, and Warren County was there today doing the underwater. Actually, they snorkeled today doing the video. And, you know, there's expenses that are being incurred to take care of our lakes. So that's what that's about. We can move on.
Okay.
With that.
Good.
Okay. Ron?
We've been working on Howe Road. We got down the binder today. Tomorrow we'll top it. And I'd like to ask all board members to take a ride across it. And this is a full depth reclamation job that we've done for 1 mile. I don't have the cost yet. I'll have them probably next board meeting, but the cost to rehab some of these roads is expensive. And the amount of CHIPS money that we got is minimal. So. Just, I'd like you guys take a ride over when we're done, that's all. And then, we've been working a little bit down on the campsites down on River Road to get that money that's there for us. So.
Been up there a lot. See you guys up there, your trucks are up there a lot.
Yeah,
You're definitely working on them.
that's.
Karen?
You all have our report
Yep.
for the month. It's pretty lengthy. We've been pretty busy. Our numbers are about double last year permit wise. We've had a lot of violations and complaints that we've been dealing with. On top of that, it's been taking a lot of our time. Chris is still struggling a little bit with the short-term rentals, trying to get some of the lingering properties into compliance. One thing that I have is I'm requesting a resolution from the board in regard to, Mary, should I say the name? Is it all right to say the name?
I can talk about it. So the board, I'm assuming remembers the
Litigation.
Article 78 that was brought against CBA for an accessory structure that's higher than the primary structure. The ZBA denied their request for a variance. They brought the Article 78, they lost. They have filed a notice of appeal and they've put their counsel on record with the appellate division. They have not perfected their appeal. But they're going through the steps that look like they may. They have not sought a stay from the court, which means that they are in violation of your code right now because their garage is higher than their house. So Karen is asking if we should commence a violation litigation against them.
I've sent out an email following the judgment of when they did the Article 78. Once we received the judgment, I sent out an email asking them to advise me as to what their course of action to remedy the violation was. I have not heard from them. I did hear from their lawyer, which I referred that lawyer to our lawyer. And then I had given them 2 weeks at that point. I left it for a month and I sent an actual violation letter the second time. And that time I heard from a different lawyer that they had hired to do this appeal, wanting to keep the lines of communication open, and I again turned that over to Mary because she's the one that needs to deal with that at this point. And I have not heard anything from the owners as to what they are going to do to try and remedy the violation. So the next step would be for Mary to start a proceeding basically to get them to come into compliance.
When their attorney emailed Karen, their first attorney emailed Karen to ask if she would give, to allow the appeal to move forward before she saw a code violation, I wrote back to him and said, without a stay, we're gonna move forward. And him file for a stay, and we won't be able to. They did not file for a stay. And then when I contacted the new attorneys, I gave them a couple dates that I was available to speak if they wanted to, and I never heard back from them either.
So that was before or after they lost the first time?
After they lost.
This is like June, May, I'm sorry, May, beginning of May.
So how long have they been, this judgment been against the property owners? How long have they,
February.
yeah, judgment?
February was the judgment that said that the ZBA's decision stands, the denial stands.
I like to see you move forward with that.
I agree.
And I
It's
need-
been long enough.
And I will need a resolution authorizing me to,
And, okay,
please.
all right.
Would that be the board?
I would like to make a resolution to pursue, the legal action required necessarily to resolve this issue with the property owners.
Legal
I'll
action.
second that. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a little discussion. Would I need to refrain from that?
Did you vote
Abstain
on that
from
one?
that. I was on the zoning board, but I wasn't at the original meeting. I mean, I was at the original meeting. I wasn't at the second meeting when there was a public hearing with the voting.
So you did not
I
cast
did
a
not
vote?
cast a vote on that.
And no, I don't believe it.
So can you write this one, please?
Yes.
Or we'll work with, okay.
Yes.
Do a roll call.
Okay.
Anyways.
Councilman Morton,
Yes.
Councilwoman McMahon,
Yes.
Councilman Hanlon,
Yes,
Councilman Niles.
Yes.
Okay, the only other thing is Chris has an item that he would like to discuss with the board, and I'll chime in if you want me to.
Russ?
Well, I'd like to say something real quick about something that came up at the zoning board meeting. This last meeting, pertaining to short-term rentals and my struggling with it. Not only some of these short-term rentals that can't come into compliance because of existing violations. Prospective short-term rentals are having a problem obtaining a short-term rental permit because there are existing violations that maybe a previous owner did a project that we can't permit without a variance first. And one of the biggest things that we're encountering right now are retaining walls. And at the last zoning board meeting, it was discussed and that perhaps modifying the regulation on those specifically might help. I don't think we're at a point where we're gonna ask for that. Unless Karen feels otherwise. Basically, it makes it difficult to the definition of a retaining wall in our regulation makes it difficult to achieve a variance in a lot of cases. So that's one of the biggest hurdles that property owners are finding, is that Section 7A requires them to be up to code. So if we find that they've built a retaining wall since 2019, November 11, 2019, those walls have to meet the standards of that code. And we've had discussions about them being prohibitive, especially in a township with a lot of topography. So it's been discussed that this might be something that we want to resolve because it's just going to continue to be a problem, especially when it comes to short.
The original zoning ordinance, when I came in, didn't have very much about retaining walls in it at all. And the zoning board of appeals had already had, before I came on board at all, I was not part of this at all, had a variance regarding retaining walls. And as a result of that, the zoning board wanted to change the regulations and make them, I'm gonna say more restrictive, the regulations more restrictive and not so vague. And so they did that, and there was talk in the zoning board about what to change, and they made the recommendation to the town board. And that happened while I was zoning officer, but the recommendations that were made by members of the planning board. It went to the town board. In particular, there was one councilman on the board at that time who actually worked doing retaining walls, and he had some suggestions as to how to change the rule to make it to make these walls safer, I guess is the word that I want to use. However, now we're running into issues with because they limited the height and the length, and they also, in their definition of it, made them classified as a structure, and structures have to have a 10-foot separation. So if you're building a retaining wall and it can't exceed 25 feet in length, and then you have a 10-foot break, you're breaching the effect of a retaining wall. Some of that is what is happening. And so we've been talking about what is the best thing to do to handle this, because it keeps coming up over and over and over. And we haven't really come to a conclusion yet as to what to do, but Chris has reached out to our engineering firm. I didn't know that he was going to do that. I was afraid that the engineering firm was going to charge the town, and we hadn't gotten permission for that. But as it turns out, he told Chris later that he was not going to charge the town for what he had done at that point. But my thought is we really need some input from someone who really knows about retaining walls before we change this regulation. But what we have now is not really working well, even with the change that was made. So that's, am I saying is.
That's well said, you know, especially with the 10-foot separation from other structures.
So I think we need to go back maybe to the planning board, to the zoning board, and talk this over and get some kind of path to move forward if they feel we should. And I think we need to probably get and do some research as to what other towns have in their regulations for retaining walls. And then if we need to go to our engineering firm and see if they have any suggestions as how we can make this a better workable law than what it is right now.
So when you consult with the engineering and all that, get that all hammered out with a resolution, the best path forward, and bring it here. Present it, we'll look at it.
My point is that in doing that, we may incur some costs from the engineering firm if we do end up going.
That's what they're hired for.
Yeah.
That's what they're hired for. This is why we need them. I think that's very.
But
very
the engineering firm we don't pay them a flat fee for a year's worth of services. Right,
Yeah.
as long as you're aware of that.
I think what you should do is basically what you just said, bring up to that point and then come to the board and say,
Tell us what you have.
I need
And
certain engineering company to answer this for me.
Right.
And we'll either.
the
Or
plan,
no.
plan of attack. And
I mean, we
we'll
were
talk about
kind of trying to put everything off until we redid the zoning ordinance, but
But it's piling up on you.
it's piling up and it's not resolving these issues, you know.
And it seems like redoing the zoning ordinance is a long
Gonna be
ways
a
away.
longer process than what we originally thought, so.
Yeah.
Jonathan Sukup, in conversation with our town engineer, indicated that his firm is capable of and willing to do that, but it would certainly be something we'd have to
Yeah.
agree to pay them for.
Don't let the fact that it has to be town board approved slow you down. That's not an indication that we're trying to kick this can down the road. Get what we need as quick as you can, we'll act on it.
So when we feel we're ready to have them do the research and propose a change in the law, you want us to present that to you?
Come with the answer.
If you need
This
to
is the
pay an
best-
engineer to do something to get questions answered so that you can proceed,
Because
come to us as quick as you can.
yes, if we come here, we do this, we have no engineers here. And then we're gonna discuss it and go, wow, oh, wow, and we're gonna have to go back and forth, the back and forth. Get it down, talk to them. See what their best plan forward is. Present it to us and get our support. I mean, it's obviously something needs to be taken care of.
I think that would require telling them that they can bill us for it to have them do the research.
Yes.
Other than-
When we get to that point, we'll ask for permission to do that.
Okay,
That's-
very good. Thank you.
Yeah, and then he had, did you want to?
The other thing I want to talk about, thank you, Karen. Upon inspecting a septic system here in town, there was a double stacked seepage pit, which means two cylindrical seepage pits stacked on one another, and it was on a lakefront property. And knowing what I knew about Appendix 75A, I questioned the contractor, where is the seasonal high water table? And he could not indicate that to me, never did an investigation. So I went back, to the office, called the Department of Health, and they questioned why this system did not have an engineered design, which the conversation led to them informing me that, and this is Dan Malcorath at the Department of Health, informing me that since 2004, all new and replacement septic systems that are not in kind in the same location or the same size require an engineered design, not the inspection or the as-built follow-up, but they indicated this is a New York State law, as did another Department of Health employee subsequently. So I guess what I'm asking the board is for guidance, how you would like for us to proceed with septic systems. It is not in our local ordinance a requirement for the design to be engineered. The Department of Health had sent me a fact sheet, which I distributed last month to members of the board. Explaining it a little bit. It would be helpful to us in our office, as we've had several designs submitted that were not compliant with Appendix 75A, and we had to scrutinize them and have them corrected, and our ordinance basically has us and seems to reflect that we would be handling the inspection and the as-built if the engineer does not do that. I think one of our concerns is that this would be additional cost to the resident who is having the system built. I've heard a range of possible, $500 to as high as a couple $1,000s just for the design. We haven't gotten confirmation of that. But understandably, it will make the process for replacing your septic or building a new septic more expensive, unless it is in kind. So if you replace your leach field or whatever that is there in the same area with the same size system, an engineered design is not required by the New York State. So I'm seeking guidance from the board as to how you would like for us to proceed.
What have you got? You've got a
This,
septic.
we have an ordinance. Our ordinance does not say that these new systems have to be engineered. Our ordinance refers us to the state standard, which is Appendix 75A. That standard does not say that the design has to be done by an engineer. The only thing that the state has given Chris at this point that says it shall be an engineered system is a fact sheet. We don't enforce a fact sheet. We enforce their Appendix A and our ordinance. So they're telling us, Chris, that we should be getting engineered systems on every new system that's put in. And truthfully, it would make our job a lot easier if they were. But I told Chris this, we've been back and forth on this, Chris and I, that I've seen it from both sides. From the side of doing the inspection, it would be much easier for us if they were engineered systems. From this side of being a resident who can't afford to pay for that, I've been there when I was first married. We had to have a new well and a new septic system put in our house because our old well went bad. I was not working. We just adopted a baby. It took all of our savings. It took all of our savings and security out of my husband's job. And it took a bank loan on top of that with me not working. So I understand what the cost of this can do to some people. If you're on a fixed income, and there are many elderly people or not even elderly people in town that are, this could be very expensive and a hardship to them. When the standard, which is the 75A, does not explicitly say it has to be an engineered system. And what I have done in the past, up until this person from DOH that's gotten involved, what I had done in the past is if you have a conventional system with a regular perk and the soil is, which is you determine from your perk mainly, if you can put in a conventional system, I don't make them get an engineered system. If they put in any kind of a different system, like a mound system or a pump up system or Holden Halls, which they don't even like to allow anymore, if they have to get a waiver from the standards, I make that be done by an engineer. But for just a conventional system, I have not required engineered systems, but the state DOH is pushing for us to make that what we do.
Stricter than state law?
I can't say that it's stricter than state law because their fact sheet states that it shall be an engineered system, but that's a fact sheet. It's not
It's
standard.
not law.
Right.
It's their opinion.
Mary looked into it. I don't know if you.
Mary,
can
what's your
explain
opinion on
any
that?
better than that?
So whenever the state does these fact sheets, they'll cite directly to the law that they're talking about. And interestingly, they don't cite to any law when they say it
There
has
you
to be
go.
an engineered
There you go.
design.
Go by the law.
My reading of it, and obviously we all have a different opinion. My reading of it is the state saying, if you're stamping your name on that design, you better be an engineer or someone that has a professional license. But in my discussion with Chris and Karen, I said the person stamping that design is taking that risk. It's not the town. It's not mandatory. They're saying you better have this professional license under the education law.
So the color of law, I mean, the color of duty, I mean, isn't it, aren't they covered by the town? Because they're performing their duties.
This has nothing to do with them. I don't even think that they have any, I don't think they have to worry about this. I think the people who are submitting these septic designs are the ones that have to worry about it.
So bottom
Whether
line,
it's an
do you pay
engineer
attention to
or-
a fact sheet or you pay attention to the law?
I don't think there's a law that says this. That is my opinion. I haven't found one. They don't cite to one. I've spoken to other zoning enforcement officials who have said that they feel like the state tells them something as a law when it's not. So this didn't surprise them.
The system in question
You
is
can't
working.
operate like that.
It hasn't been running yet. It's for they demolished a home, replaced it with, well, I'm not sure. I mean, it was a camp and then they demolished it. It had an existing septic there prior, so it's kind of in between being new and.
Well, they tore the old home down and they just rebuilt another bigger home, which is common now. The septic is still in kind. Or where am I wrong?
I don't think it's in kind. It originally it was, originally a permit was applied for an Elgin system there, which is a superior shallow septic system like a leach field. And then it was changed to a 2 seepage pit design, and then it was changed to a double stack seepage pit design to allow for more land use, which the Department of Health kind of indicated that that shouldn't take priority. A septic should take priority.
Somebody did drawings.
They were submitted to our office, but they were not engineered.
Yeah, but someone submitted.
Piece of paper with lines on it.
Yes. And just, I mean, if you read this fact sheet, in the second paragraph, it does refer to law, Article 145, 147 of,
That's the
But
education.
that's
Title
the
eight.
education law covering the engineer.
right. But if it states that it has to be designed by a
Well, I
professional,
don't see where someone says that if they have fact sheets, they're suggesting you do that, it doesn't make it law. It's just like, sounds like someone in Albany is trying to cover their butt. I used to work for the state. I
okay,
know how this works. It's always this. So I think if someone's out, this is my personal opinion, I get it, it's just opinion, everybody's got one. But the law states they don't have to have it.
I have always been told
You can't back up, you can't go after somebody, well, because really recently with President Trump, you can't, invent things out of thin air.
that you just, that we do our job to the best of our ability.
Yes.
We're not going to get everything 100% all of the time, but you do your job to the best of your ability. And I feel that that's what we have been doing. And I understand that the state wants us to do this differently, but I'm not sure that
They need to change the law, then. I mean, just common sense.
Sounds like to me that if we do what they're wishing we would do, we could be out on a limb.
Yeah, you open a can of worms.
Yeah.
there's a lot of
My
shell
two
bees.
cents would be, do it the old way, the way it's written as a law.
And just refer to New York State. You can tell me anything you want, whoever in office, but this is what the law says. Until you change that law, this is how we're gonna do it.
And
You
guys
just
look-
can't invent things out of whole cloth. You just can't. The state is just famous for that, but.
Okay, I wasn't aware that that was a potential. I mean, I read this fact sheet. There's a lot of shell bees on there, which it seems like some strong language for something they're trying to coerce us with.
That's what it is, it's
And to
strong
a-
arming.
Add to it, I've had several contractors come in who do work in other towns and act surprised that we don't require an engineered septic because all the other towns do.
And the other
Or-
thing is we also have been getting, since this has been coming up in conversation with the people that are regularly doing septic systems in town, that if we would go to requiring engineered systems, and this is kind of like now the other side is holding something over your head, that they're just gonna start doing weekend jobs and not get permits for this stuff, which I said to Chris, well, if they do that, then they're on the hook. We're not on the hook because they're in violation of not having gotten a permit. And the homeowner and the person doing the work is on the hook. We're not on the hook for it.
I did have two contractors say that to me, to my face, so
Does this help you at all?
You want
requiring
that?
engineered design.
No, the discussion isn't helping
Oh.
you at all.
I think your conclusion was do it the way you've been doing.
Yeah, that's how I
Stick to the
feel.
law, not the.
But going to Karen's point, she makes a good point. I started out in a very similar position you did when I first got married. I know where you're coming from. Been there, done that, and got the t-shirt to prove it. But in order to protect the taxpayer, that's the end of the day, that's what we do. That's how I look at it. If this means keeping it the old way, keep things, to protect the lower income people who are just starting out, don't have that kind of money. We owe it to them to take that road. And not do the easy way. I feel the easy way always goes, as a town board says, no, we better do engineer septics. And just to avoid the problem and turn our head the other way, instead of just turning around and facing the problem and saying, no, change the law.
Well, I'm here at the pleasure of the board and I'm happy to do whatever the board decides on. I just need a clarification on this.
Do it as you've been doing. That's my opinion. I'm just one person, but that's how I feel.
I agree.
I do, Jim.
Okay,
I wouldn't be surprised if in 4 or 5 years, the wish list, the fact sheet has wound up being law.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Until then.
And again,
But then
I
it'll be
mean, I,
grandfathered. Anything new is gonna be engineered anyway, right?
not always.
no, we got a majority of non-engineered designs submitted to our office. So,
Okay, let's, yeah. I
Do you have-
don't mean to
that's
cut it short, but I need to cut it short.
if the Department of Health sends me anything that's
Keep us posted.
firm,
Law.
would you like me to keep you posted?
Yeah,
Okay, I will provide that to you if they do send anything.
okay. Karen.
Thank you.
Karen or, Chris, do you have any more?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, Lori,
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilman Martin.
I'm sorry, can I change the disc real quick?
Yeah.
Timing's impeccable.
Yeah.
Mary,
Is that place a short-term rental?
do we have to make a motion to go into executive session after this to discuss that?
I mean, just give me like a general subject.
The town being exempt from the town ordinance.
I was gonna do that in my report.
You're gonna, okay.
Can I sit in?
I have no problem with it, I'm sure.
Do you mind if I sit in on that?
I don't want you there, Karen.
Did you say I don't want you there? I don't.
Oh, dang.
Mine's quick and easy.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's for the past 2-3 years. Pretty good. That's what the timer. Dave keeps the time.
You guys show me, I don't keep
Dave's
the
not
timer.
doing
You guys
his
give me
job
the
with
timer. I don't know how to work the timer.
Okay, we're rolling again.
Okay, we're rolling. Never mind, I do.
I don't know how to use it either.
Well, let's- with it. Get it out.
Right, who's on?
Dave. Are we good? Okay, just a couple of things. I spoke with Steve Ovett from Wilderness Property Management. He's working on putting together a quote for what he calls a recreational assessment for human-powered sports. This is for that property that we were talking about off of Lake Tour Road, Reservoir Road. This type of assessment will be useful in grant applications and kind of outline the potential of the property on that parcel. So once he has that quote, I'll present it to the board and we can decide if we want to use that, use him to come up with that. I've also been working with Jamie, the website manager for the town, on redesigning the town website. She's made a lot of changes that are currently on draft pages. So they're not on the live set yet, or on the live site yet, but she did show me, she sent me a little walkthrough, and it looks like it's going to be much more streamlined and user friendly, which is good. I was on the phone today with Mannix Marketing to try to get her some enhanced permissions that have kind of been holding her back from making edits to the website. So they're going to reach out to her directly now that they've spoken with me, to hopefully set her up with those permissions so she can do her job a little bit better with the site. And that's all I have for today.
Councilwoman McMahon.
No, mine's all been answered.
I have one thing, as we've been reading the paper, our Luzerne High School boys baseball team has gone the farthest it's gone since 68. It's been I was 1.5 years old when they made it as far as they're going, and this Friday they're playing Oriskany in Binghamton, New York. Right now they're guaranteed they're the 4th best team in New York State. I'm going to say that 4th best team in New York State. I think as a town, I'd like to see us do something to acknowledge that, like Fort Ann, driving those 30 years past there outside their town, they have a display. It says Section 2 champions years. We need to acknowledge that as a very historic thing, and who knows, that they may go further than they ever have gone this Friday, and we need to get that on the radar.
So they're Section 2 champs.
Yeah, and they're at the top. There's 4 teams left in it, and it's all happening coming up. So the whole state of New York they're one of the best 4 teams.
They have 2 games left to play, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I
I
heard.
think we need to
to.
we need to do something, come up with something. I have nothing on my mind, other than what Fort Ann has done, I think, on the entrance to our town. Maybe work with Hadley. It's Hadley, Luzerne, and it's a school district, maybe even Day. Whoever we're with, and I think we need to sit down and come up with a way to not just, I'd like to, not just like a 1-day thing, but just something like 40 N does. Every time you drive by, that just acknowledge it. It's a historic moment for the town.
Mhm.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
High school athlete when I was a kid, that meant a
Yep.
lot.
That's a big accomplishment. That's huge. Extraordinary young group of men have gone further than anybody has gone in a lot of years.
We need some help.
Yep.
Anything else?
That's all I have. Right?
Okay, I had 2 things, but I'm just gonna pass over them quick. I'll talk to Gene about the kayak permits and remind him of what we did back on March 19th. I just want to keep our memories fresh about the park use permit process, just to keep that on our minds. I don't want to go over it again tonight. Gene asked me to show you those signs. I did that, so I am done.
My God,
Attorney.
it's a record almost a record.
So I know Supervisor Merlino hates when I ask for an attorney-client privilege session, but that's what I'm gonna do, and I brought case law to back it up. So Sindoni versus Board of Education, 163 NYS 3D 343. Communications made pursuant to attorney-client relationships are considered confidential. And communications between a governmental board and its counsel, in which counsel advises the board of legal issues, are exempt from the provisions of the open meeting law. So I'm not asking for an executive session, I'm asking for an attorney-client privilege session. And that is allowed pursuant to law.
We'll do that last.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. Is that it for now?
That's it for now.
Okay, floor is open to the public. Come on up and state your name and tell us what's on your mind. Thank you for waiting.
Yeah, no problem.
Very patient.
My name is Curtis Jones. I'm just here representing a nonprofit that I'm a part of called the Upper Hudson Queer Alliance, which you may have remembered having business about a couple weeks ago at your agenda meeting. I just wanted to formally introduce our organization. We haven't done it up to this point because we're kind of new. So we weren't trying to like ruffle any feathers with our event in the park. We didn't expect it to take off as fast as it did. So we're kind of kept playing catch up ourselves with the administrative end of things. So I just wanted to establish an open line of communication with you as a board so that you know that we aren't trying to like pull it over on you. No, we're just.
For whatever it's worth, we got that feeling. I know you've been dealing primarily with the clerk's office.
Yes,
And we definitely got the feeling as though it's a dialogue, pleasant. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I just figured showing up at the meeting, like this is the first time it sort of even occurred to us to be involved in the local government because we just got started in January, so.
Yeah. Oh, we're all good.
Yeah. But yeah, if you ever have any questions for us, feel free to email us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for showing up.
Thanks, Curtis.
Curtis, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Is there, because I was speaking with Riley, is she the person we should contact if we have, or is there?
There's 3, well, there's a board of 5.
Okay,
We all sort of share email account.
gotcha. Okay,
It's often Riley, but then sometimes it's me and sometimes somebody named Delmara.
okay.
Lori,
you.
who have you been talking to?
Mostly Riley. Cindy's actually the one that's been dealing with it the most, and I believe it's been Riley.
Riley's been doing most of our communications
Mhm.
recently.
Thank you. Next.
Want to take a break? I have about 40 minutes. of stuff.
Numerous flyers and pamphlets,
You officially have 3 minutes.
a flow chart.
Yeah, Mike Schaefer, Hendrick Road, summer resident. First off, I just want to mention to Councilman Hanlon
Yes, sir.
about you talked about the conferences and things that we had gone to. We were presenting though at that conference, 4 of us, to New York State. We had over 50 people in attendance. There were 144 lakes in attendance. And personally, it would cost me about over $500 to come here, stay over 2 nights just before our place was open. And basically, all we were asking for was registration remuneration. So to clear that up, we weren't asking for total.
And I apologize if
Yeah.
that's, it was my opposition to it was legally based
Okay,
on town law. You know, it was
well, let me go backwards and back to the very beginning when Jim mentioned something. I think we tabled that for maybe next time, about allocation to the Lake Luzerne Association, which I'm a part of. And if money were to be released to them, we would go to them. We're going to be doing so much this summer that rather than come here and try to nitpick for $40, $20, $50, whatever, we would go to the association, and then that board would decide and determine whether or not to fund us for the projects. And we got a lot of things that we want to do this summer, as we've been doing. First of all, Warren County Soil and Water were here for 2 days. We did Monday, we identified 25 points on the lake. These are the kinds of things we get. You'll all get full results of all the lake sampling that we will be doing this year. Today we did Warren County Soil and Water, and we had 2 divers go in and an intern who took notes on our positions, and 15 points on the lake. They found no milfoil, none, 0, zip. All the native plants are coming back. They found frogs and turtles and loons and all kinds of wild things down there, and everything looks great. And I have to tell you, and I want to say this to you publicly, our lake is kind of like the jewel in the center of a lot of lakes around here that are experiencing problems with not only milfoil, but other invasives. And we get calls, and Jim can tell you, we get calls from other lakes to come and present to them and how we've been going about doing things the right way so that the lake is clean, pristine, and so on. We're part of CSLAP, which is the New York State Federation of Lake Association, Citizen Science Lake Assessment Program. We go out 8 times during the summer. We take water samples. We're involving high school students this year for the first time. We've done presentations at the school, but this year we're actually going to have students. I actually updated my liability on my boat. I take them out on a pontoon boat. Tim, you were on it. I think last year you were on it. So I got $1 million policy on my boat, and my insurance agent said that's probably not enough, but stay safe. But we're going to be taking kids out. They're going to be doing, we're going to call them junior sampler or junior scientists, whatever. But we're talking about buying things like T-shirts for them, and, you know, pens and, you know, stickers and things like that. And we'd like to have a little budget for that. So that kind of what we were hoping that the association could get involved with, and maybe take some of that bed tax money from town to give to the association. Let me see what else I got here. We're also designated as a loon-friendly lake, New York State loon-friendly lake. which Kurt in the back of the room, if you have any questions about that. You'll see signs up and again, that's just another kind of feather in our cap here that we get looked at as, oh, this is really nice. Lake Luzerne, they're doing good things. We're also designated this year for the first time, and there's a grant available that we have jumped into, our association. And we're going to be reporting on fireworks before looking at the lake, and afterward, the 4th of July, we're going to see what the extent of any fireworks on the lake had on the water quality, and if we find any debris in the water. Lake George is big on this. Several of the other lakes have also jumped on that. These are just some of the things that we're looking forward to do. I know my 2 minutes is up, but if you have questions.
The library.
Yes. I'm sorry. That's been a sore subject out on the other side of the state. I'm on a library board out there, and every time I bring up the Luzerne Library, it made the news out there. It made national and international news, our library here. We're doing good things with the library. We're going to be doing presentations. We're going to be going in, doing story hours with the kids. And one of our folks on our association is going to be doing readings for the kids. And unbeknownst to Jim, he's going to be doing a reading there too. I'm just putting you on the hook tonight.
Heaven help them.
Heaven help them,
I
yes.
believe we have 3 dates, right?
Yeah, we have 3 dates for that.
You're gonna be buying some little kits. So
We'd like to buy
kids
some
can
kits for the kids, just
Yeah.
little things that kids can make and take home. And it's all gonna be like, lake friendly. And that will go back to the parents to, oh, what's going on at the lake? Well, Mom, Dad, this is what we did. And maybe you don't know that there's loons on the lake and that they go out and this and this and this happens. So
the very near future, I know we're gonna be looking for permission from the board to put up 2 fish line garbage cans. It turns out one of the largest problems with loons is trying to eat fish line. So part of Kurt's work in getting us set up as loon friendly lake. It's just a do with a cap on the end of the sign. We're gonna want to put those up, probably up by the north end. Road is that, down the road crosses,
Right.
where all the kids fish right there on the little bridge.
yeah.
Probably want to put one up. Sign, we'll have more information.
I don't know if anybody realized, but Memorial Day weekend, we counted, I was out on the boat, we had our boat in the water. There were 128 people on Pierpont Beach, on the beach, in the water. I'm wearing the lifeguard shirt. I train the lifeguards here. I've been training them here for 37 years. Knock wood, thank God, never had a serious situation there. Don't shake your head now.
Don't say it out loud.
Never had a situation. The lifeguards do a good job. They're young, and they're kids. And I try to keep it when I'm down there, make sure that people are respectful of the lifeguards. We've not been a respectful society lately, and we've had issues, but the kids are good, and they really take care of the public down there, as well as Nick's Beach on the other beach.
That reminds me, on a little plug, I think the cardboard boat race is this weekend.
Is it this weekend?
It's coming up. My kids were designing a boat today.
Okay. I know we didn't have enough guards the last 2 years to open
Yeah,
the
we cut
third
the hour-
beach
Cut the hours back.
and cut hours back, and that's part of the budget thing, but they really do a good job, and we want to keep it that way. Any questions about anything I covered here on the lake?
I just want to thank you for everything you do with the lake.
You're
I
welcome.
think it's really important. I think it's a great idea to get the kids involved with the lake, get the young people of the town into it so that they could continue to take care of it in the future. My kids are really into that sort of thing. I caught a little turtle today the size of a nickel. I participated in the floating classroom thing in Lake George, which I still remember to this day. And if we could do something similar to that on Lake Luzerne, I fully support that. So thank you.
You're welcome. That's it.
I don't think it needs to be said that I'm
Nope.
very.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank Jim too. He comes out with us as much as possible. And all of you, I want to invite any and all of you to come out anytime. I'm fully insured. I have life vests. We'll occasionally provide liquid refreshment and donuts. But I mean, you were out with us, I think, last year, one time.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm always amazed at the people that live around here and in town that have never been on the lake. I'm amazed. And they come and say, yeah, they go, they fish, they stand on the side, but they've not been out on the lake. And they don't really don't know the history of the lake. That's it.
Mike.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, anybody have anything else? And I make a motion, we go into
Attorney-client privilege session.
attorney client privilege, and we will be not making any decisions, and we will be not making any decisions after we come out of that. We will adjourn immediately after that.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.